First of all, let me know if the audio is working properly. I'm still adjusting my camera. Okay, so is the audio all right? Is the audio all right? Let me just type here in case you guys can't hear me. Yeah, I have a tablet on the side so that I can see your questions. Okay, so in this live stream, I will be talking about things that I have done in 2020, last year, and what I will be doing for 2021. If you have just joined in the live stream, let me just adjust the mic. Oops. All right, is the audio all right now? Is it much louder? Or maybe I should put the mic closer to me. Yep. So let me know if the audio is working well. Let me see where are the questions. All right. I can't seem to find a live stream question. So today we will be talking about 2020 and 2021. So the sound seems better now. Right now it's about 1 a.m., around 1 a.m. here in Singapore, and the monsoon season has just started, so it's going to be cloudy and rainy for the next month, which means it's going to be very difficult for me to go out and sketch. So today I have some time to do this very impromptu live stream. Hello everyone who has just joined me. I decided to make this live stream because just to hang out with you guys. Yeah, just to hang out with you guys, see what you guys have been up to, and tell you guys what I will be doing this year. And also, if you guys have any questions, just let me know in the comment section below. Am I a full-time artist? I am actually a full-time artist / designer. I work at a local newspaper here in Singapore. I just do graphic design for them. I work at night, so that's why I have a lot of time during the day to create all my content for my blog and also on my YouTube channel. Yeah, if you notice, I'm just switching here because I have a tablet to look at your questions. Otherwise, I will not be able to see all your questions. Okay, what do I want to talk about? 2020 is it's not a very good year. So here in Singapore, the pandemic is relatively under control. It got pretty bad around March or April. I cannot actually remember when. Anyway, it got pretty bad during the first half of the year, and Singapore went into this lockdown and partial lockdown after that. So there were a lot of restrictions, but now the situation here is pretty much under control, which is great. And because it's such a bad year, or not a very good year, I think it has put a toll on a lot of people's health and also the psychological state, which is why I really enjoy interacting with you guys, putting out videos and seeing the interaction and how you guys responded to the videos that I've made, especially the A to Z sketching series that I went on for 26 days consecutively, and I received many comments from you guys saying that you enjoyed watching that. I'm very pleased because that took a lot of work to do. I mean, when you create a series like an everyday series, it takes a lot of work. But I really had fun drawing with you guys because it's very different when it comes to recording a video like a few weeks before and then publishing it a few weeks later. There is this very different feeling when you make a video today and then publish it today or tomorrow. I would say there is some adrenaline involved, but I'm very glad that you guys enjoy it. Okay, so in 2020, I started working from home from mid-year on, from March onward. Yeah, from March onward. So I was able to create a lot of videos still because I make a lot of videos actually indoors. And there were a lot of plans that I had for 2020, but were unable to fulfill those plans because of the pandemic. There was supposed to be the Urban Sketches Symposium, which was to be held in Hong Kong this year in March, if I remember correctly. But that was postponed or cancelled due to the riots. But as the pandemic became worse, it became very clear that it was absolutely not going to be happening. And there was supposed to be another international sketch walk, the Asia Link sketch walk, which is supposed to happen in October, September, in Bandung, Indonesia, and that was cancelled as well, again due to the pandemic. And this year in 2021, I'm pretty sure there is not going to be any Urban Sketchers Symposium because it's just too dangerous to travel to other countries right now. And I predict it's going to be like that for a few more years until the situation, the pandemic situation, gets more controlled and people get vaccinated. More people get vaccinated. So this year, the Asia Link Sketchwalk in South Korea, that will be cancelled as well. Pretty sure about that. So yeah, I wanted to travel in 2020, and yeah, everything. Yeah, so all the plans are pretty much in disarray. But I'm glad that I did not like get COVID-19, and I'm also glad that I did not pre-book any airplane tickets and travels, so that actually saved me some money, because I have a lot of friends who book tickets, who book hotels in advance, and they had a lot of difficulty getting refunds. So yeah. Okay, so let's take a look at some of the questions while I try to answer them, as well as talk about what I'm going to do this year. Let's take a look. Oh, it's 5 a.m. in UK right now. I'm not sure what time it is in USA. So usually my live stream is around this time, because this is the best time with the light, the sun outside. Let's see, what questions do we have? First question from Lestrobi Blanco. Does China get flooded often because of rain like that? Fun fact, Singapore is not part of China. Singapore is a country on its own. It's not part of China. It's not a village, a state, or anything of China. China is actually a few thousands of kilometers away, if I'm not wrong. Anyway, Singapore is located at the equator. So China, it's in the northern hemisphere. That's the only thing you need to know. Singapore is on the equator and China is in the northern hemisphere. Okay, next question from Jodel Garcia. Are you currently reviewing any drawing tablet? Yes, I am reviewing the Huion Canvas 16 and the Huion Canvas 12 and the new XP pen pen display that is going to come out on the 6th of January, but I have not opened the box yet, so that review is going to take some time. Yeah, in 2021, I'll still be doing what I've been doing all along. Reviewing art books, reviewing art supplies, reviewing tech products that are related to art. I don't review all tech and gadgets. I just review the things that are related to art, because there are just too many things to review. And also, of course, continue putting out YouTube videos like this. And hopefully in 2021, the pandemic situation will be so controlled, or be under control in a way that will allow me to go out and make more outdoor videos. I don't make a lot of outdoor videos here because it takes a lot of effort to actually go out and make those videos. So it's usually much easier to set up a camera at home and then film my sketches. But I do prefer to make outdoor videos because it's really fun to sketch outdoors, and it's also very fun to explore Singapore. And also, I find it really satisfying. Is that a word? Find it. Let me just say that I like to share what I experience here in Singapore with you guys. Yeah, that's why I still enjoy going outdoors. Okay, let's take a look at some more questions. iPad reviews. Do I buy the iPads? Depending on the tech product, it really depends on whether or not, it really depends on what that tech product is. So when it comes to Apple products, I usually would just buy them to review and then sell them away so as not to go bankrupt, because Apple, they don't send out review units unless it's to really popular big YouTubers and publications. So for me, the way I get hold of tech products to review is actually to buy them and then sell them away secondhand, or buy them secondhand so that I can sell them review already and then sell them away without making too much losses. Most of the products that I buy and then sell later, I would definitely make loss because you're buying firsthand and then selling off secondhand. But hopefully those videos are helpful to you guys, which is why I still continue to make them. Yeah. But for some of the pen displays like Crayon or XP Pen products, the companies, they do send me those products to feature, and then I get to keep the product. Sometimes I give away, sometimes I sell them. It really depends on the various factors. Okay, thank you, Lena A. For your comment. You're one of my favorite artists. Thank you very much. Angela Tan, I'm still optimistic to recover by the end of 2021. I remember you. If I remember correctly, you are a subscriber from Singapore. Yeah, and I remember you also won some prizes as well from the lucky draw, if I remember correctly. Yeah. Another question from Amy Wang. So excited to be part of one of your live stream. Curious to know if you have discovered any recent new favorite art supplies. Wow, art supplies. Let me see. Let me just take a look around. All right. Yeah, this happens to be quite old. I actually buy a lot of supplies, but I don't use them as much, unfortunately. That's the problem with being an artist. Sometimes you go to the art shop, you see like new things you want to buy, new tools, supplies that you want to try out, and then you buy this, buy that, and when you are at home, somehow you have so many art supplies that you have bought, but you just don't get around to use them. Anyway, this is the Neocolor water-resistant wax pastel that I featured in one of my earlier YouTube videos before, where I showed you guys how to draw and use watercolor with them. There is the other version which is water-soluble, but that video actually is not a very good video to present to you how good this product really is, because this is actually a fantastic product with a lot of potential. The way I showed you guys in that earlier video, which by the way is not a product review, is I'm just drawing a bit, applying water over the lines. It's actually not meant to be used that way. This is actually meant to be, if you take a look at the shape of the crayon, the pastel, this is meant to be drawn with, and the pigment for this is fantastic. I mean, let me just talk about this yellow. Now, yellow is a color that is kind of light. It's not as intense compared to red or blue, but for some reason, this new color yellow is incredibly vibrant, rich, like really yellow. And I was so amazed by it that I'm just blown away. So this is something that I will definitely experiment more with this year. And I'm not sure if you can see it, but many of these pastel sticks or crayon sticks, they are in broken pieces because my daughter Tiffany likes to break them, likes to color with them, and sometimes she would just step on the sticks here and they break into pieces, or she would get angry at me for whatever reason and then throw the crayon sticks onto the ground and the sticks would break into pieces. So all these small little pieces, it's all her fault. But she really enjoys drawing with this, and I really enjoy drawing with this as well. So this is probably one of my favorite products from last year that I've used, but this was bought like 3-4 years ago. I only took this box out because Tiffany is now at an age. Tiffany, by the way, if you don't know, is my 2.5-year-old daughter. So she is now at an age where she can actually hold the crayons and draw. So that's why I took this box out of storage to let her play with. So yeah, as for other art supplies, I try not to buy too many art supplies because there is just no way for me to use all of them. So I have a lot of colored pencils, but as you have seen on my YouTube channel, I don't really use colored pencils. So I've decided to stop buying colored pencils. And in 2021, this year, I hope I can use more of the products that I have already bought and stop buying new products. I do like to buy and feature new art products because I can make YouTube videos for them to show you guys new products and how they work, but making all those review products actually take a lot of time because you have to really test them thoroughly in order to show off the best characteristic of the two, show off how you can best use the two. Speaking of which, there is this brush that I want to talk about. This is the Winsor & Newton Series 7 brush, which is a very expensive sable, Kolinsky sable brush. So in my review, I didn't give this a very good review because it had a lot of substance glued onto the hair to keep it give it a sharp point so that it can be delivered to customers. And when I reviewed that, I did not wash off the glue thoroughly. But the thing is, I've used the brush for almost 1 month, and that glue that Winsor & Newton applied onto the hair, it's very difficult to wash off. So even right now, after a few months later, when I paint with this brush, sometimes it doesn't hold water as well compared to other brands of sable brush. And as you can see, the hair here is still very fluffy. If you add water, you can sort of taper it to a point, but you have to make the effort to taper this to a point. Anyway, the reason why I bring this brush up is because I did not spend enough time to review this. So my review for the Winsor & Newton Series 7 watercolor brush, it's not that accurate, but I still don't like this brush because compared to other brands, I mean, take a look at the hair. Other brands can maintain a sharp point way easier. Okay, so let's take a look at more questions. Is there an ultimate goal in regards to your exploration of art, like a pivotal point that you want to match an artist you once idolized? This question is by Block Baxter. I do look at a lot of, I do follow a lot of other artists on Instagram, and sometimes I like to replicate their style just to learn how they paint, basically get into the mindset of how they actually think. Because when you take a look at other artists' artworks, you can actually learn a lot by replicating how they paint, like reproduce their sketch, learn how they paint, and then find another artist with a totally different style, and then try as much as possible to reproduce their art in similar style and learn how they use the tools and how they think. So when you learn from other artists, you can actually grow a lot and you can grow much faster, because if you are learning just by trial and error, learning on your own, it takes time. It takes a lot of practice, experimentation. But if you actually learn from other artists, other artists, they have already experimented on certain ways to paint, certain techniques, certain styles, so you can get inspired by them and then use some of their techniques, use some of their style and make it your own. But learn from as many artists as possible, so that it's not like you're copying one artist, because you don't want to get to a stage where people take a look at your art and then say, hey, your art looks like someone else's art. You want people to say, hey, your art looks like your art. I can recognize your style whenever I see your art. So that's a good goal to work towards too. Next question by Nerd Incognito Sue. I am drawing again during pandemic and building up my art supplies. What are some low-cost basics you recommend? I recommend not spending like too much money, because you can actually not spend so much money but still get really good art products, art supplies. Start with pencil, simple pen and ink. If you can, get a fountain pen with a bottle of waterproof ink, so that you can apply water onto it. So that's the basic supplies you need for pen, ink, and watercolor. With pencil, you can also use with watercolor. With pen, you can use with watercolor, but the style of pencil with watercolor versus pen with watercolor, the look and style, it's going to be very different, which is nice, because sometimes you feel like using this style, sometimes you feel like switching to another style, which is great. And you don't have to spend too much on watercolor, because you can buy like sets of watercolors. And I would recommend you check out M. Graham's set. They usually sell their 5-tube set. I cannot remember the exact price, but it's a very good price. So in their 5-tube set, they have primary colors, and each tube is 15 ml, so you can use the paint for a very long time. But M. Graham has honey in their paint, so it's not good for squeezing out into pens. Anyway, for practicing watercolor, you can go with M. Graham, because it's really value for money. You can get watercolor sets from Mission Gold, which is also very value for money. You can find Mission Gold from art retailers online and also from eBay. It may be a bit cheaper on Amazon to get the 9 or 12 tube set. Another brand to consider is Jackson's Art. If you happen to be living in Europe, Jackson's Art, they make their own brand of watercolor paint, and I'm not exact. I think it's 21 ml tubes. Those are really worth the money as well. Jackson's Art, they do sell art supplies at very affordable pricing, but Jackson's Art is from UK, so you have to go to your art shop to see what supplies your art shop is carrying. But generally speaking, I do recommend spending a bit more to get artist grade watercolor, because the quality is much higher, which means you don't have to use so much paint to achieve the color intensity. So you get to use the paint much longer. The paint, each tube each 15 ml tube of paint can last for a very long time. Yeah. And if you need more recommendations on art supplies, do a search on my blog, parkerblogs.com. Just do a search for beginners art supplies or beginners watercolor sketchbooks, beginners paper, beginners fountain pens. Yeah, I have a lot of guides written, but right now I'm not able to show you because, well, it's a live stream. Okay, let me drink some water. My little girl, Tiffany, is 2.5 years old, and today she is at her grandma's place. Yeah, so she is having her long weekend because New Year's, was that on Friday? Yeah. So yeah, this week we have a long weekend, but we can't travel anywhere because, you know, the pandemic. Okay, next question from Jen Winkler. Can you recommend a decent watercolor paint that is accessible in Australia, like Asian, but it's not super expensive, as in American and European paints are very expensive in Australia. I would recommend you check out the watercolor paint sold by Jackson's Art, because if you buy above a certain amount, Jackson's Art actually do offset the shipping cost by a certain amount. So do check out Jackson's Art, and also check out Amazon. I know some people, they don't like to shop on Amazon, but do check out Amazon as well, and also eBay. If you want to buy paint from eBay, Mission Go is good because there are actually a lot of South Korean eBay sellers selling Mission Go watercolor products on eBay, and some of those products actually come with free shipping. So Mission Go is actually a very good brand to get from eBay. Holbein, Holbein is good, and there is Shinhan, which is also good. Yeah, so these are the 3 Asian brands that I would recommend: Mission Go, Holbein, Shinhan, and of course M. Graham, because M. Graham really is very, very value for money. Yeah, but other than that, I don't know of other brands that I can recommend to my viewers in Australia. I've been to Australia once. I've been to Sydney, and I've checked out their art shop there, and yeah, the prices there for the watercolor boxes, the tubes, they do shock me. Like, I had a shock when I saw those prices. Very expensive. All right, Happy New Year to everyone, to Bevsy, Amanda, Buson, wow, Diego from Argentina. Wow, that's like the west side. Must be either very early or very late right now. Thank you guys for following my channel, for subscribing to my channel. Next question from Jodel Garcia. Do you think someone good in digital arts, sorry, let me rephrase the question. Do you think someone can be good in digital art without practicing traditional? Definitely, because you can just start learning digital art like straight away. But the process of, the basic fundamentals of learning art, of creating art, is the same, just that now you are using digital versus traditional. And with digital tools, there are certain advantages. With traditional tools, there are also certain advantages. So there are pros and cons to using different types of tools. So for digital, you have a lot of software that can actually replicate the traditional look. And with digital, you already create work on the computer, so your work is saved straight away. You You can share your work very easily. You don't have to waste time to scan your work. And also with digital, there is a lot of undo, which can actually help you, or it can be a pro or it can be a con. The pro is you can undo mistakes, but the disadvantage or the downside of having so many undos is you tend not to be as careful when you are using compared to using traditional media. So with traditional media, when you paint, when you draw with pen and ink, you have to be very careful, more precise, because when you make mistakes, it's very difficult or sometimes almost impossible to correct. So when you are more careful, you tend to be more conscious about the lines that you draw. At least for me, when I draw with pen and ink, I am definitely more conscious about where I put the line. But when it comes to digital, sometimes I find that I draw like a bit too carelessly. Yeah, carelessly is the word. Yeah, but you definitely can be good with digital without learning traditional. But I do recommend learning traditional as well, because it will help make you think differently. It's actually the thinking part that really helps you to grow, because I mean, when it comes to using tools to draw, whether digital or traditional, there are only limited ways of using the tool. But how you actually create the art, how you actually think of the composition, perspective, how you actually plan your, how you actually design your work, that will actually impact your work more compared to the tool that you use. Because I mean, if you take a look at black and white comic drawings or black and white illustrations, some of them are so good that it really blows you away, and it's just black and white. So it goes to say that it's actually not the tool that you use, but what is actually your thinking, your mindset, that is very important when it comes to making good art. Yes, Tiffany is 2.5 years old now. She likes to throw things around. She likes to like scribble on my floors. I mean, if you take a look at some of my studio tour, you can see crayon marks on the walls, on my chair that I'm sitting on right now, on my table. I think there are some crayon marks as well. And oil-based or wax pastels, they are surprisingly difficult to like wash off. Do you find core paint? Let me just put my bottle here. Do you find core paint hard to re-wet? I personally don't find them so. Well, core watercolor paint, I haven't used them for a very long time, because here in Singapore it's quite difficult to get like individual tubes. They are always sold in sets. So if I run out of paint, I won't be able to get individual tubes. So I won't. I just use brands that I can buy refills, buy tubes for. So nowadays I don't use core, so I cannot remember much about that brand. But when it comes to re-wetting paint, I guess if you add enough water, it will still re-wet. But certain pigments will definitely be more challenging to re-wet. With core watercolor, for those who don't know, core watercolor, they use a different binder compared to traditional watercolor, which uses gum arabic. So core watercolor, they have their own Aquazole binder. So there is going to be some differences when it comes to how the pigment wets and also how the pigment behaves on paper. I know there is an artist, Jenny Granberry, who is also on YouTube. She uses core watercolor, and if you take a look at her works, you can see that she is a brilliant artist, and the watercolor paint performs, I mean core watercolor paints, they perform just like any other brands. Yeah, So I would say that's a good quality watercolor brand as well. Okay, next question. Let's see what other questions you guys have. My space is so organized. This is by Kirk Liu. I would think so. Oh yeah, I actually have the cupboard open. Yeah, so this shelf here, I have the art books that I want to review. But for the art books that I have for references, art books that I have already reviewed, they are actually in another cupboard outside of this room. I try to keep my things organized so that I can find them easily. Like I have a drawer just for pencils, color pencils. I have another drawer just for watercolor, another drawer for markers, another drawer for ink. It's easier to find the supply that you want when you organize the supplies in certain ways, in categories. Next question by Manuel Ilihu Diaz. I like the urban sketch you did with Google Earth, and I like to teach my students doing that activity online. Can you do more? Yeah, I guess I can do more. Sketching with Google Earth or sketching with Google Street View is actually very convenient. I mean, you just type in an address and you just go to the place. You can actually just fly around in the sky and look at the place, look at the different places, explore the different places. I actually use that to so-called travel to different places and also scout for locations that I may actually visit later on in person, because doing research using a map and using Google Earth, it is so convenient, because when I'm on the ground walking, it takes a lot of time to walk. Even on my skateboard, it takes a lot of time to explore all the hidden places, to visit places that I've not been to. So I do recommend you guys to try Google Earth. Download the app or just use it straight from your computer by going to their website. You will be able to discover a lot of interesting places around your neighborhood. Yeah. So maybe I will try and make more content using more sketching videos using Google Earth. Oh, another thing I like about Google Earth is it allows you to draw it allows you to draw scenes that would otherwise not be possible, because when it comes to urban sketching, we are usually on the ground. We're on the ground looking at buildings, like looking upwards, but with Google Earth, you can actually be high up in the sky, looking down. So that sort of view is not possible when you are on the ground, which is why I like Google Earth, because whenever you draw a scene using Google Earth, your sketch will immediately look different compared to typical urban sketches, because you are not on the ground. Yeah. So when your view is different, your art is going to look different. Another question by Cups Win. What do you think about LeBaison brushes? I've not heard about that brand, so I can't say much. K-Mac, you live in a dry climate, so M. Graham sets they dry nicely in pens. That's great. Yeah, another thing about getting watercolor paint that has a lot of honey is, if you happen to live in a very humid climate, like here in Singapore, it's very humid. It takes more time for the paint to dry properly, and you need to make sure that the paint dries properly before you keep it in a box, because the paint will flow out when it's still wet. Happened to me way too many times. Let's see, other questions. So it's the new year. Today is the 4th of January, 3rd of January. Oh, 3rd of January. By the way, do check out the USK Talks on the Urban Sketchers channel, YouTube channel. They are starting a new series of USK Talks, which are basically interviews with urban sketchers from all over the world. And the first one will be live, I think it's a live stream. Will be live later on today at, I cannot remember the timing, but just head over to their channel, the Urban Sketchers main channel. Just click subscribe and follow the USK Talks, because again you can learn a lot from other artists just by learning from what they have learned. Okay, looks like no more questions. Do you have a favorite video that you did from 2020? Wow. The thing is, I make too many videos to remember specifically which video I enjoy most, but the videos that I enjoy are usually the outdoor videos, because I enjoy the experience of being out there. I enjoy the experience of sketching outdoors. So those are my favorite videos. The videos that I don't enjoy, well, actually I enjoy making all my videos, which is why I'm still making YouTube videos. So on my YouTube channel, you see a variety of videos. I have reviews for tablets, for pen displays. I have reviews for art supplies, art books, like the ones I've recently reviewed, the Urban Sketching Handbooks. I review a lot of art books on my blog as well as on my YouTube channel. But the art books that I feature on my YouTube channel are only those that relates to sketching and creating art. On my blog, I review art books, like all sorts of art books that relate to pop culture, animation, 3D, movie, TV, comics, fantasy art, and those are artist sketchbooks. Yeah, and also on my YouTube channel, what else? What else do I have? Well, some live streams, tutorials. I do enjoy making tutorial videos because I just enjoy sharing, making art with you guys. And yeah, so I try to create a huge variety of videos on my YouTube channel, and surprisingly, the most popular videos on my YouTube channel are actually not the art videos, even though this is an art channel. The most popular videos on my channel are the tech product reviews, like the iPads, the Samsung tablets, because everybody knows those tablets, which is why when they go onto YouTube and do a search, they can search for those tablets very easily, because the name, the brand is already in their mind. But art videos only interest people who are into art. But I still enjoy making art videos, which is why I still make like a lot of art videos. Yep. Speaking of art tutorials, I have a few courses on Skillshare. So I used to sell my online courses on Gumroad, but now I have uploaded some of my online art courses on Skillshare as well. The difference between the videos that you see on my YouTube channel versus the videos that I sell, versus the art courses that I sell on Gumroad and also on Skillshare now, is those are structured art courses meant for beginners who like a certain structure when it comes to learning. So you can follow step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and learn the basic fundamentals of creating art. But for my YouTube channel, the tutorials, they are just random. I do assume that you have some basic knowledge of making art, and then you will be able to enjoy those videos more. Oh, thank you, Omen Boy, for your $3 super chat donation. I didn't know that I actually turned on super chat. Yeah, So how do I balance my busy schedule? This question is from KMac. I used to publish like one video every day, but now, now as in from since 2020 and this year and going forwards, I'm only publishing like one video every 2 days. And because I don't spend a lot of time on social media, I try to minimize the mindless scrolling on Instagram and also on Facebook. I have a lot of time to actually create content, to make art, to edit my videos, to review art books. So that's how I balance my busy schedule by not spending time on social media as much as I can. Yeah, it really saves a lot of time. And also I don't watch TV and I don't play like video games, so that helps me save a lot of time as well. Another question from Richard Mika. Did you get to fix the paint splatter on the wall? There are still some splatter marks on the wall. Anyway, sometimes when you see my camera pan to the white wall, you can see some splatter marks. Some are made by my little girl, Tiffany. Some are actually made by me. Because sometimes when I try to clean the watercolor brush and I take it out too fast, some of the paint actually splatters onto the wall, and I have to quickly clean off the paint while the paint is still wet. Otherwise, when it dries, it's going to be permanent. And speaking of permanent, some watercolor paint are easier to remove compared to other watercolor paint. So if you take a look at watercolors that are staining versus non-staining, the non-staining watercolors like French ultramarine, you can actually just scrub out the paint and the surface will be white again. But for staining colors like phthalo colors, quinacridone colors, they are actually chemical colors. Their pigments are so small that they can actually go beneath the surface. Yeah, they can actually go beneath the surface of your palette, of your mixing well, unless you are using a porcelain mixing well. If you are using metal, if you are using plastic, if you are using any palette that is not porcelain, those chemical colors will actually go into the surface. Yeah, that's how amazing those chemical pigments are. What camera are you using for this live stream? I'm actually using my phone, the iPhone camera. It's not a special camera. This setup, I'm just using my phone because it's a very simple setup. I just put my phone on the tripod with my other camera, like this guy here, which has even better video quality. I need to connect this to an adapter and then connect the adapter to my laptop. I also have to make sure that there is enough battery inside. The battery here can only last for 45 minutes. And it's a hassle to set this on up because you have to connect a lot of cables. With the phone, I just put it on my cable and I can just live stream. So it's really easy. Maybe one of these days I will do a live stream out on location. Basically, I'll show you guys, show you around Singapore while I'm on my skateboard. Let me know in the comment section if that's something you would like to watch, because I really enjoy riding my skateboard, like cruising around the streets and looking for places to draw. Yeah, and since this year I am not going to be traveling, I'll be staying in Singapore. There's more time to explore Singapore. Okay, let's see, what other questions do you guys have? Question from Manuel Iluhu Dians. How is your process when you sketch a very dense foliage when vegetation show the same color and morph? Okay, when it comes to drawing like trees, plants, I mean, take a look at this wallpaper, for example. You don't really see like um, the individual trees and plants. They are all merged into this shape here. So when you paint trees and plants, generally speaking, you should just paint them as a combined shape. You can take a look at paintings from other artists and see how they actually paint their trees and plants. You can actually learn a lot from other artists. So painting plants and vegetation with watercolor is very different from painting with pen and ink and watercolor, because with pen and ink you actually have the pen to help you like draw the trees, to separate the trees from one another. But when it comes to painting, try to group them together, and also practice and experiment. You never know what or whether or not a certain technique will work, or a certain look, how a certain look will work, whether it will work, unless you've tried to paint it yourself. Making art. Next question from Coco9103. Is making art your full-time job? My full-time job, as mentioned earlier in the video, is I'm a full-time artist and graphic designer at a local newspaper. So this YouTube thing, it's not my full-time job, but it's my full-time hobby. Yeah, I spend like way too much time on my so-called hobbies. K-Mac has a comment. My favorite videos are the ones where you use a limited palette. Yeah, those are my favorite videos too. My favorite, I have a lot of favorite videos, so those are my favorite videos too. Yeah, those limited palette videos are really fun to make because you really get to experiment with colors, play with colors, and see how colors work with one another. Because I mean, sometimes red and blue, mixing red and blue, you will not get purple. Yeah, mixing yellow and red sometimes won't give you that bright orange. You have to discover the individual characteristics of each color, and you will learn a lot. So for my limited color palettes, usually I have a palette that can create all the colors except for bright vibrant purples, because I don't usually use like bright vibrant purples. Wait, let's see. Oh, James Barton. Oh, I'm so sorry your girlfriend passed away. Wow. Wow, I'm so sorry about that. Take care. Yeah, it's a pretty bad year. I'm so sorry. There's this comment question on active styluses versus inactive styluses. Okay, so this is a question on digital styluses. Active styluses are basically styluses where the tablet can detect the stylus, where the tablet knows that there is a stylus around. So usually the styluses are made specific to the tablet. For example, if you are using Apple, they will have an Apple stylus, the Apple Pencil. If you are using Samsung, it will be the Samsung S Pen. If you are using some other brand, you have to get the stylus that is made by that specific brand. Chances are then you will get an active stylus. Otherwise, if you are just using some generic stylus, it's not going to be an active stylus. And the advantage of using an active stylus is you get pressure sensitivity and palm rejection, which means you can actually rest your palm on the display and draw without introducing stray strokes. That is very important because you don't want to introduce stray strokes when you're drawing. Okay, let's see what are the questions. What or who is your favorite inspirational urban sketcher? Wow, this is like a very good question. I have a lot of urban sketchers that I follow. My friends actually, friends that I've met during the Urban Sketchers Symposium, still friends. Wow, there's just so many to list. Lapan from Barcelona, Sherry Blakov, Suhita. There is who is that? Paul, William Sim from Singapore, Paul Wang from Singapore, and we have Alvin Mactan, who is my friend, another fellow urban sketcher and YouTuber. Wow, there are just like too many to name, and I guess I can put a list down in the video description below, but there are just too many. I mean, if you do a search on urban sketching or urban sketchers on YouTube and also on Instagram, you will be able to find a lot of inspiration, a lot of fantastic artists. And some of those artists are like so good. I mean, their works are so good, but when I take a look at the number of subscribers or following they have, it's not like really big. So you guys can help them out by following them. Go onto Instagram, YouTube, and search for their work and follow them, because they do. It's really time to follow them because you can learn a lot from them and you get to enjoy their beautiful sketches. There are just too many for me to like name. Oh, Nina Johansson, her sketches are really good as well. Simone Ridyat, she is very good. And Roisin Currie, yeah, the artist and author from Ireland, she is really good as well. Oh, thank you, Angelia Tan. Wow, thanks for the $10 donation. You should join us for one of the sketch walks if you can. I've not been to the Urban Sketchers Singapore sketch walk for a very long time. Yeah, so hopefully I can join them again. And I've been too busy to join them. Anyway, there are some restrictions when it comes to sketch here in Singapore, because like last year, they actually have this rule where you cannot gather in groups of more than 5. So this year, they have lifted that restriction. I mean, changed the restriction to now you cannot gather in groups of more than 8. And usually for the Urban Sketchers Singapore sketch walks, we have like 40 and 50 people. So for the last few sketch walks, which I have not been to unfortunately, they plan it in such a way that the groups are usually like in groups or small groups of 5, and there is no show and tell at the end of the sketch walk session. So yeah, it's not as fun. I mean, urban sketching is still very fun, but it's not as fun, as interactive compared to sketch walks before the pandemic, where you can just go around and talk to people, where you can just go around and look at other people's work. Now people are just split into little groups and sketching on their own, so it's a bit more distant. I'm not sure if that's the way. When you're out sketching with your friends, it's always fun. So it's distant, but it's not that like distant. And oh, another donation from Jody. Thank you very much for your $5. I didn't actually know that you can actually. I did not know you can actually make money from like YouTube live stream. Is there an alternative to Apple Pencil with pressure sensitivity? If you want to buy an iPad, then do set aside some budget to get Apple Pencil, because that really is the best stylus to use with Apple iPads. because you don't want a situation where you buy a third-party stylus and it doesn't work that well with your iPad, and then you have to go on and buy the Apple Pencil eventually. So do do set aside some budget to buy the Apple Pencil, or get a Samsung tablet that already comes with an S Pen. The main difference between iPads versus the Samsung tablet is if you are really into drawing, graphic design, creating content, like creating visual arts, the iPad is good because it has a huge variety of graphic design and illustration apps there from the Apple App Store. But on the Samsung, the main drawing app is going to be Clip Studio Paint, which is subscription based. Clip Studio Paint is an excellent app. So if you go with Samsung and use Clip Studio Paint, you are not actually missing out on anything, because Clip Studio Paint is really very good for drawing, for illustrations, for sketches, basically for anything. And even though there are so many graphic design and illustration apps on iPad, it doesn't mean that you're going to use like all of them. You are usually using just one or two drawing apps. So for iPads, I use Procreate. I don't really use any other drawing apps on the iPad. On the Samsung, I use Studio Paint. Yeah, so it doesn't really matter how many drawing apps there are from the App Store, as long as there is a really good drawing app. Oh, Emma Fitzgerald. Someone mentioned Emma Fitzgerald. She is a lovely illustrator as well. I love her sketchbooks. She goes around, where does she stay? Vancouver, Canada. Is that in Canada? Anyway, yeah, I think she stays there. Anyway, she goes around to sketch all the neighborhoods, the people. I like those sketchbooks because I like travelogue sketchbooks. They not only capture the places, they also capture some of the interactions with people there, which I find really interesting. Because, I mean, another reason why I like urban sketching is when you go out and sketch, people are going to interact with you. It's just a matter of how frequently they interact with you. So oftentimes when I sketch outdoors, I will have people asking me what I do. Sometimes they may even offer me free drinks. Like recently when I was out sketching in Chinatown, while I was sketching, there was this lady who came up to me and asked me for advice on the different art supplies to get for watercolor, because she is going to be starting she's going to be enrolled. She has enrolled in a watercolor course, and she will start to paint like a few days later. So I gave her some advice. Yeah, so it's this little interaction that makes it really fun to sketch outdoors. But I also understand that some people, they like to sketch and they are rather introvert. They don't want people to disturb you. One trick to use while you're sketching so that people don't disturb you is to use earphones. But I don't use earphones because I like to hear like the surrounding, like to get a better feel of the place. Because I mean, for sketches where you draw, sometimes you not only remember the place very vividly, you can also remember the weather. You remember all sorts of things that basically you can remember, not just what you saw, but the whole experience. Another question from K. Shang. I really like your art book reviews. Thank you. I like the Urban Sketchers Handbook series. If you had to choose one, which one would you choose? Wow, there are like so many books. One thing you need to know about the Urban Sketchers Handbook series is those books are just collections of tips, so they work great if you already know how to draw. You can use the tips to make your sketches better. Which one would I recommend? If you are, because each book talks about a certain topic, a certain subject, you can just get the book where you feel like you want to learn more about that subject. So Shari Blakov's book on color, on using color, that's great if you want to learn more about using colors. Not just from her, but from other artists that are featured in that book. If you want to learn about perspective, you can get the book from Stephanie Bauer. If you want to learn about drawing figures, you can get the book from Gabriel Campanario and Suhita, and also from Roisin Gray and Lynn Chapman. She has a book, like a much bigger book, not from the Urban Sketching Handbook series, but a much bigger book on drawing people. Yeah, so each little book talks specifically about a certain subject, so you can just get which one you feel like you want to learn more about. Oh, my glasses, they like keep sliding down. That's why I have these like hooks here. You see these hooks here? They prevent the glasses from like falling like forward. And speaking of glasses, this is actually a Nike glass, but I try to not try. I use black markers to block out the brand. Yeah, I'm trying to find like jerseys or shirts like this that are cool to wear, cool as in cooling to wear, so that I can sketch outdoors. This green shirt, the yellow shirt, and the red shirt, I've been wearing them for many years. I think I mentioned that like in all my live stream, like how the colors, they are still so vibrant even after all these years, after being washed in the washing machine for like countless times. Next question from Sam Taveras. Do you think it's worthwhile to get an iPad to use Procreate, or is it better to get a Wacom perhaps? My general recommendation is get a device based on the software that you want to use. So if you want to use Procreate, then get iPad. If you want to use your desktop software, then get Wacom. So the deciding factor really comes down to the software that you want to use. People who get pen displays like Wacom Cintiq pen displays is because they want to use. Okay, is because they want to use their desktop software. But if you have no preference, if you have no preference to whatever software you want to use, you can actually just go with the iPad, because it's actually quite fun to have a digital sketchpad that you can bring around to draw. And it's also very easy to use. Yeah. Can you suggest any free course to get to start with digital art? Wow. Oops. Free courses. Free courses. Well, that is actually I've never actually thought about that. There are definitely a lot of free tutorials on YouTube, but the thing with the free tutorials is they are usually not structured. So you have to learn like bits and pieces from this tutorial, from that tutorial, from this tutorial. One recommendation or one advice I can give you is, if you really want to save money, you don't want to spend any money, is to go to Skillshare. Skillshare, by the way, is a subscription service where people can pay a certain dollar amount and watch as many art tutorial videos there as they want. But my advice is not for you to like sign on to create an account with Skillshare. My advice is to go to Skillshare, do a search on digital painting, digital drawing, using whatever software that you want to use, and take a look at the content list of the lesson, and then do a search for each item there is on the content list on YouTube. and you will be able to get like a structured way of learning, more structured way of learning rather than just learning from random videos that you find on YouTube. So just go to Skillshare, look for digital drawing, look at the list of contents and search for the topic from those lists. That will save you some money. Have you tried Derwent Graphite Tints or the XL Graphite blocks? I don't really, I mean, Derwent Graphite Tints are just like watercolor pencils, but they are available in like gray colors, if I remember correctly. So I don't really use them that much. I don't use watercolor pencils that much anyway. Question from Rochelle Morales. Can you get mold in your brush bristles? And best way to clean it? I've received a Rosemary Sable quill brush and it had black speckles inside the brush and near and inside the furrow. Black speckles, well, I'm not sure what those black speckles are. Anyway, just wash off the black speckles. Mold actually is white in color. It's usually white in color, so I've not seen any mold that is like black. So that those black speckles, I'm not sure what they are. Anyway, you can get mold with your watercolor brushes because here in Singapore it's very humid. So sometimes when I go out and paint with my portable, collapsible watercolor brush, after the painting session, I will wash the brush properly and keep the brush in my bag and then go home and forget to take that brush out of the bag to air it, and 2 days, 3 days later, it's very fast. It just takes like 2 or 3 days later. I take out the brush and I can see white spots on the hair. That's mold. So yes, mold can grow on brush hair. And regardless of what art product, art supplies you are using, try to dry your art supplies properly after each use, especially for water-based media. You really do not want mold to grow on watercolor. I have made so many videos on mold on watercolor. It's quite scary. Another question from Kesham. Is it possible to sketch at night? Do you know any artist who does that? Definitely possible to sketch at night. The thing with urban sketching at night is it's not easy because at night there is a lot of black, and when you take a look at watercolor paintings, usually paintings are done during the daytime. There are very rarely night scenes drawn with watercolor. You can certainly try, because why not? It's possible. You can try to create with digital art, or you can try with creating with traditional media, creating the night scene with traditional media. But personally, I don't really like drawing at night because it's very difficult to see, because, well, it's dark. Yeah. How do you clean brushes? What's your favorite sketchbook? This question is by Cups Win. My favorite, sorry, how do I clean brushes? I don't have any special ways to clean brushes. I just run the brush under the tap. But I mean, when cleaning brushes while I'm painting, I have 2 cups of water, one to wash away the paint, another cup to clean the brush more thoroughly and to get clean water. But to wash the brush after the painting session, I just wash it under the tap. And if the brush looks like it's very dirty or very difficult to clean, I will use brush soap to clean the brush. There are actually special brush soaps that are made for cleaning brushes. Too expensive, definitely worth investing in a brush soap for cleaning brushes. But generally speaking, if you use watercolor, you can just wash the brush under the tap. It will clean quite thoroughly. Favorite sketchbooks? Well, there are like too many sketchbooks I've used. The favorite ones are the ones that I make myself. By make myself, I mean I get the good folks at the Society of Physical Disabled Singapore to bind the sketchbook for me. So I'll provide them with watercolor paper, usually Arches or Fabriano Artistico watercolor paper, and they will bind the paper into a hardcover sketchbook for me for a fee, of course. Those are my favorite sketchbooks because the quality of their binding from SPD Singapore, it's excellent, and of course Fabriano and Arches watercolor paper quality, excellent. As for like the branded sketchbooks, wow, Covell is the sketchbook that I use for the AZ sketchbook series. They make really good sketchbooks, but they are expensive because they use 100% cotton paper. Covell sketchbook is good. There is Khadi watercolor papers. Sorry, Khadi watercolor sketchbook. KHADI. They make handmade cotton watercolor papers. Sorry, they make 100% cotton watercolor sketchbooks, but those papers are actually handmade, so they have decade ages, and the surface, sometimes the quality of the surface is a bit random, but I like it because it's so, the paper is so like raw. I mean, for a sketchbook where you are not creating serious work, you can use handmade watercolor paper. As for other brands, you have to check out my blog. I have written a list of watercolor sketchbooks that I do recommend, but I cannot remember the brands off the top of my head because there are like just too many supplies to remember. And besides, I haven't been using those branded sketchbooks for a long time. Happy New Year for those who have just joined in the live streaming session. Wow, I've been streaming for 77 minutes. That is pretty amazing. Let's see. Another question from Hydro FX. Happy New Year to you too. I have a question regarding perspective. Is foreshortening more of a feel thing rather than something you have to calculate and measure exactly out? Okay, when it comes to drawing perspective, a few things you need to know. If you're drawing perspective from urban sketching, from observation, you don't need to have any knowledge of perspective to draw perspective, to capture perspective, because you're just drawing from observation. But knowing perspective will help you improve your sketch because you can use perspective to check whether or not your sketch is accurate. You can also use perspective to speed up sketching because of how the scene is. You know how the lines are going to appear. I mean, you know the direction, you know where some of the lines are going to go because of perspective. And you can use that to speed up your sketch very quickly and also make your sketch more accurately. But you don't actually need to know perspective in order to draw perspective. So regarding foreshortening, the reason why foreshortening is difficult is because you already have you already know what you are drawing. For example, if you are drawing a car or a building, your brain already knows that you are drawing a car and a building, and somehow that knowledge of drawing a car will actually mess with your drawing because you know how a car looks like, and that knowledge of knowing how a car looks like will interfere with you drawing the actual car that is in front of you, because the car that you remember in your mind is not the same car as what you see in front of you. So there is this mismatch of thinking which prevents you from drawing those foreshortened objects. So one thing you can do is to practice. It's always all about practice. practice drawing with contour drawing, and also when you're drawing, try not to think about you drawing a certain subject. Like when you're drawing a car, don't think about drawing a car. Think about drawing the different shapes, drawing the big shapes. Think about the angles, the lines, where they are going to start, where they are going to end. How is this line relative to other lines that you have already drawn? But don't think about you drawing a car as in it's a car, I'm drawing a car. Think about it as drawing shapes, lines, measuring the angles, getting the proportion. Yeah, so that will actually help a lot. Okay, let's see. Oh, this live streaming session is, I actually enjoy answering your questions. It's really fun to like hang out with you guys. Yeah, because when I make a YouTube video, it's just me recording the video, talking to you guys, and then editing the video and then upload and then look at your comments. But the live interaction, it's very different from reading comments that are posted after you guys watch the video. And also with live streaming, when you have additional queries, additional questions, you can just ask straight away. Because sometimes questions may just appear like in your mind suddenly. Another question from Luis Mel. I want to ask about higher quality art supplies, but my town has no art stores. So my mom says I'm too young to use them, plus it's expensive. Art supplies can be expensive, but you don't need to use expensive art supplies to create art. So if you just want to go with the bare minimum, pencil, pen, and why is there a turning circle on my... Let me know if you guys can still watch the video, because there is something turning on my phone. Anyway, if you can get a fountain pen and then get a bottle of ink, and you can draw with pen and ink for like months. If you want to use watercolor, just get 3 basic tubes of watercolor, yellow, red, and blue, and you can mix all the colors that you need. Not yet. Is this live stream still recording? Let me know in the comment section, because I have no idea if this is still live. There is something turning on my phone. Oh yeah, it's still live because I'm actually watching my live stream. Yeah, this is weird. You know, sometimes there is this thing that's right in front of you, but you don't know where it is. Like sometimes I'm wearing my spectacles, but I don't know where my spectacles are, or if I'm holding my fork and spoon, I'm wondering where's my fork and spoon. Yeah. Oh, okay, I think that turning thing is because my internet connection is not that great. Let's see, another question from Jane Spartan. If you're going to choose warm and cool primary colors from Daniel Smith's watercolor, which colors would you choose? Daniel Smith, they actually sell this set of warm and cool watercolors with 6 colors. So those will be the 6 colors that I choose. I cannot remember exactly the colors, but it should be Hansa Yellow Light, New Gamboge, Scarlet, Paris Scarlet or Scarlet Red, Quinacridone Rose, French Ultramarine, and Phthalo Blue. So those would be the very classic 6 color palette options to choose. Yep, the video is blurred because it seems like my internet connection is not that great. All right, yeah, let's see. What else should I talk about? I think maybe I should talk more about business and art in this year. Do you guys want me to talk about like more about the business side of making art, like how you can use your art to make money, how you can use art to, or how you can use social media to create a bigger following? Yeah, because I feel like I've been seeing a lot of posts regarding the starving artist myth. Yeah, it's a myth because nowadays with the internet, it's actually really easy for artists to make money using internet as a tool. In fact, right now in the internet age, being an artist is actually one of the best careers you can ever choose, provided you like to create art, because there is the internet. Yeah, I can talk non-stop about the business side of art, and I think it would be very useful for some of you. Going to art school, yeah, I've not been to art school, so I can't talk like much about art education, like proper art education, but I can talk about business side because I've been doing what I have been doing for the last 10 years. I started my art blog in 2008, and I've been creating content for my blog, for my YouTube channel. I've been creating art courses. I've been selling all sorts of things online that are related to art, except for my own paintings. So I don't actually sell my paintings. I don't sell my sketches, but I'm still making money. So that is the potential of how you can use art. Oh, is there no sound? There should be some sound right now. Yeah, so it looks like some of you are interested in that, so maybe I will talk more about business and art. And also, if you have any like specific topics you want me to talk about regarding art and business, let me know in the comment section, because with ideas from you, I can very easily make those videos. Because sometimes when it comes to brainstorming ideas, I mean, it's difficult because I don't know what kind of problems you guys are facing. Yeah, but creating a business using your own art is definitely possible, and it is, I wouldn't say it's easier, but it can definitely be done. Yeah, it can definitely be done. And how to use social media to create art. Is it because my mic is like, maybe I should just like hold my mic like this. Okay, starving artist. Yeah, I used to be a starving artist. I used to try to like sell my art. That was like 10, 20, 15 years ago. I tried to create art, and eventually I went to take up a salary job. But now if I don't have my salary job, I can still survive doing what I'm doing for my blog and also on my YouTube channel. Okay, so I think, yep, that's it for today's live streaming session. I've streamed for 1.5 hours, so my throat is like getting really dry, even though I'm drinking all this water. And also drinking all this water makes me want to go to the toilet. Yeah, and today is a very cold and wet day, which makes me want to go to the toilet even more often. Yeah. Okay, so thank you guys for watching. Do let me know your questions regarding business or making money with art, or social media related art questions in the comment section below. Okay, thanks for watching. See you guys again. Bye. It has been fun hanging out with you guys. where is the, okay, the cross